Hello, vicarious mercenaries, proxy ninjas, and pop culture PhDs. Welcome to the Rec Room. Of course, it is Hump Day, also known around here as Warrior Wednesday. So we've got some action and shenanigans and all the usual stuff going on. So kind of been joking. It's like halfway between one thing and halfway to another. And whether you prefer last weekend or prefer the upcoming weekend, I'll leave that completely up to you. So, got a whole lot of cool things happening. So, if you're new to the Rec Room, this is your virtual hangout for creative project updates, pop culture commentary, and deep dives into franchises that inspire any of the above. And, we're working on some Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate on PlayStation 4. Um, so, it's kind of weird to try to label everything into one. This is kind of like the coolest corner of the internet where we got casuals, creatives, and interactive strategists. So, it's kind of a tough thing to label, but it's a ragtag band, and I appreciate all of you who've been hanging out. So, I guess for starters, let me just talk about some numbers on both Odyssey and Twitch, at least, which have been most noticeable. So, I know I've been experiencing a little bit of burnout lately just because we've been working on some of these titles for a little while. It's not that I'm not having fun, it's just like part of me is like ready for a rotation change. But at the same time, the completionist in me says, no, not till we're done. So part of me has been trying to gauge, like, okay, what's going to be the first thing to go? Well, I got to admit, some of you out there are making that very difficult because, there's times I have not been able to get into Odyssey in the trending section. So I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe it's this title because, maybe it's not getting the views. Well, you guys all been kicking butt because I can't even tell which game is lagging behind any of the others because some of the titles do better on one platform than the other, but all of them across the board that we've been engaging in have been very healthy on the viewership. So thank you for all your contributions across the hyper stream. And that includes multiple platforms because I sometimes, forget to mention, but we are on Odyssey and Pilled and YouTube and Twitch. So I had to divide it there because it's like I wanted to start on the alt side, knowing that some of the mainstream ones may not always favor everybody's ideas equally, but of course, we're still on the mainstream ones too to hopefully help build the audience. So, also some shout outs to our recent Red Pillars. We got Everett Home and Sheriff Hector over on Pilled. Thank you very much for helping out, keeping the show moving and everything on the Pilled side of the family. Also, one thing I have not been leveraging, part of me has been wanting to do more highlights for a lot of the. We had to disconnect this early. Stand by. A little too early for that. I can't believe I had to disconnect right off the start here. But it doesn't look like anything dropped. That is super weird. Are we connected or not? It's like saying Odyssey is the only thing not connected here. Well, that's a bit unusual. And it's not reconnecting either. Everybody else is running, right? Hmm. Well, this is very unusual. I guess if we're connected to the others, I'm going to keep rolling here, but that means Odyssey is out of commission tonight. I don't really want to be doing that. Because there's a possibility. We've never really had the situation in which one platform has gone down completely and stayed down, and I'm getting hit. Nope, there goes Pilt. There they go. They're all offline. Okay, now Odyssey's coming back up. Thank you for your patience. I do not have elevator music to play in your ear in the meantime. Okay. Well, that doesn't bode well because usually once the disconnects happen, they start at a 1 hour interval. So if we get another disconnect at roughly 9:02 p.m., we'll know that it's going to be a short night because it usually ends up requiring me cycling a router or something like that. So that's unfortunate. Anyway, so I think if we're up and running, I'll continue the usual stuff here. So I was saying thanks to our Pilled members out there. And so I have not leveraged the highlight system on Twitch, so I'm kind of like, usually I would have a lot of work ahead of me to clip a highlight manually once something's offline. But now that I know about well, I kind of knew about it. I guess I just was not leveraging the highlight system inside of Twitch. So now if I do that, now it just doesn't have the thumbnail at the intro and outro. Maybe I could go in there, get some of these done, and maybe I could get, some highlights done in shorter order. So the reason I say that is because I just got a highlight from our Metal Slug Tactics episode on Monday up on Twitch at least. Now I can download it, stitch it up, and then re-upload it to the other platforms. That saves me a ton of work. So we had some good laughs on our Tomb Raider episode last night as well. So we had also a good showing. We had a few people hanging out with us across a couple different of the platforms, and man, were there shenanigans galore. Mostly with me at Lara's expense, running her into boulders and spike traps inadvertently, but some of those were kind of comical. So there's been plenty of shenanigan-rich content lately. It's just been a challenge of the time and the effort with everything else going on. So the primary of which I'll get us into our creative section here. Oh, and I forgot to bring what I was going to show you. I guess I'll have to save it for tomorrow. So the good thing is, audio wise, so on our Patreon side, we still have the audiobook content being built up over there, and I've been working on getting chapter 3 caught up to the book's release, because that was released almost a year ahead of the book. And I've got just a few tweaks left. I think most recording is done unless I find any other spots that are really rough, but I got the last of the major edits done today. So Thursday and Friday, thankfully, is just going to be polish work, which means I'm very close. That means most of the heavy lifting is done. But of course, my biggest time sink during the week is usually working on editing and revising book 2. And my goal is to have that done hopefully within the shortest time possible of 2025. I mean, that might seem like a year. You need that long. It's like, well, book 2 is still 730 pages. And right now, the current tally is that I just crossed 120. So that means I'm about 15% of the way done. Now, even once I get a full edit, there might be still a couple sections I'll need to insert. I might need to do a little polish. And to give you a little teaser, so I've been kind of talking about some of the chapters I'm on. I won't tell you what the purpose is, but I have mentioned that there is a bit of this whole ancient tech concept going on. And also, try to think what else I can mention. It's kind of like a jungle scene, kind of a rescue thing going on. So this still is probably within the first act, and I think once we get through some of the action here, I'll probably be close to having Act 1 done, and I'm also thinking that Book 2 may have more than 3 acts like 1 did, so it doesn't mean that it makes everything longer by having another act. It's just the way the major action movements play out, because, some of our main characters have been separated, and then there's the question of how do the surviving characters get regrouped, and then what is the overall plot as that comes together for the second story. So those are just kind of the things, the struggles of getting through that, because especially the current chapter is pretty lengthy, and I think I got about maybe another couple long chapters before that act is finished. So I've kind of, remarked that it's like kind of watching Star Wars being built frame by frame, because I'm giving you the play-by-play as I have it done. And talking about the book, so just before I went live tonight, a recent follow that I mentioned, I think closer to the weekend, was a friend through work from a long time ago, and he just sent me a picture that he got his copy of Ascendant Chaos in. So thank you very much for that, and thank you to all of you who've checked it out thus far. I know there's been quite a few in our audience already. And it's greatly appreciated. It is very humbling to have a product that you've been working on for a very long time, and to have people check it out for the first time and to take that risk. I don't know how to express appreciation enough, but it is highly appreciated. Now I'm excited for those of you who are going to get into that, and I'm hoping have parts that you really like enough to tell other people about, because I've built my products around trying to do stuff with deep lore. I mean, whether you like or hate Star Wars anymore, the point is you can clearly point to serious people in fandom who will really dive into the weeds of a franchise because they enjoy it. And that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen. Now, granted, I won't have the means to do a forever extended franchise that's going to go on indefinitely, but I'm hoping with the few pieces that will exist to the Firewall Protocol saga, people will enjoy trying to find the little clues and the mysteries and the references. because there's a lot of action, and I'm trying to do subtle plot twists and things like that as well, and I'm hoping people really enjoy that. So thank you all who have checked it out so far. So I guess the last thing, which is pop culture, but kind of exiting out of the political stuff a little bit, because of course I try to avoid that as much as possible, unless it pertains to gaming, film, or just pop culture in general. And again, I'm trying not to take a negative stance on everything, but those of you who've been hanging around for a while know that I have a particular stance on things when it comes to AI. So apparently there was an announcement this week that there is a what's the word I'm looking for? A forward push to add a lot of money to AI infrastructure in the US. One of the pushes is because of like, oh, the number of jobs will increase. Well, is that even taking into consideration the number of jobs that AI is already displaced? So my answer is no. And then how about the name? So the name that is attached to this is Stargate. Well, that ought to be an indication for anybody who's kind of aware of some of the forces, influences behind many of these high tech initiatives in the recent years. So, again, I'm just going to leave that up to you. Whether you understand the context or not, that's where I'm going to leave that. But that is also a no. So, in recent years, we've watched people get deceived by their mass consumption of social media and media, and now we're watching the point where the average person may or may not even be able to distinguish the difference between something that is a real image or AI. So, hence again, my response is no. So, and then to build on top of that, more of my take on the AI thing in recent months has been, I've watched how people who, on one hand, don't have a creative bent, it enables them to have a creative output. But for those who are already in the creative spaces, they're leveraging AI more and more for tools and things. And it's just kind of like we're going to reach a point where anything that is output by artificial intelligence is just going to be same looking slop. So, of course, as a creative, I personally have an investment into pushing back on that. So again, I'm being a bit facetious, but I don't really need to get long-winded on my explanation of no to things like this initiative. So I'm not somebody who wants to be melodramatic and say, "Oh, this is the hill I'm going to die on," because I don't think it needs to come to that. But I'm kind of shocked at the unabashed embrace of all things AI so quickly and so easily. And I'm surrounded by people that, in casual conversation, whether it be, oh, I'm using AI for work, or I tried using AI for this, and I'm like, it's mind-boggling how easily it is kind of a Trojan horse into all the things going on. And one of the things I heard just recently was kind of disturbing with the amount of leverage they want to use it for potential health applications, which could be quite concerning. So, like I said, I'm not here to talk about the politics as much as AI is already the natural foil of the rec room. And so it's just interesting to bring that in today because apparently it's getting some conversation um, on the little bit larger spectrum, I guess. So that's all I have. So hopefully, if we can move ahead tonight without any more disconnects for the time being, we're carrying on with Warriors Orochi 3, in which case we do have AI as our enemy, but we're talking about old school AI, which does not do a very good job of emulating human behavior. It's pretty mindless, but at the same time, the concept of AI as scripting and pathfinding in a video game sense is just used to allow enemies to do things that prevent a video game from being totally boring because you have no other human involvement. But we are on, oh, shnikes, which episode? We are on episode 27, which I call Deep Past and Random Bonds. Because when we left off last time, we finally breached chapter 7, which is the second time the story takes us all the way into the past. Now we went into further back in the past to this era of mystics, according to the storyline, and they don't have a very decorative courtyard. It's kind of bare bones, but at least it's a different locale than we're used to, going from volcano to nice grassy plain. So we're gonna have some interesting story stuff going on tonight. But at the same time, I'm still on the hunt for the missing Ninja Gaiden characters, so I'll probably do a little mix of working on some of the story content and just trying to randomly guess where this missing character is, because I can't find anything in the walkthroughs as to activating the unlock conditions. So that's kind of the order for tonight. And if we do run into more disconnects, I will have to cut things short. We'll have to work on more next week. But the plan is to get as much done until then. So here we go, back to story mode. And see, that's the courtyard. I mean, they still brought our blacksmith and the tea house guy, but they didn't bring any of their equipment or anything. So blacksmith's sitting here is like, hey, you want to buy a column? Tea house guy's back here like, where's my customers at? So I'm not sure if all these guys have something to say. I don't know if I talked to them, or maybe it forced us. So yeah, the guy we ran into last time sure seems awfully suspect that he's going to get deceived into becoming Orochi, I think. So to look at, I don't know if I really need to do a whole lot with our characters here. Let's take a look at the growth points. So Ayane is very close to rolling over. We may be able to get her up to 99. So it's actually kind of cool that with Hayabusa, we've already got him into the 37s. We promoted him once, and he's already got, you know, improvement on his second skill there. We spend a few points there. We could spend Ayane, but we'll go one more level with her first, and then where'd we leave? I guess we got to go to the blacksmith to kind of get a sense of where they're at. So I'm see where his health and defense are kind of low now that he's been rolled over. Yeah, I guess we'll talk to the blacksmith. I don't want to spend all of our... Oh, you know what? The gems are separate from the upgrade points, I think. So even if I spend this, it shouldn't matter the other way. Alright, so she's got a weapon that's completely maxed at this point. So unless I'm giving her one of these with some crazy fun stuff on it... So one of these starts with one less point, but the Avian Avengers, it looks a little more comical at least. And I don't know if I'd rather wait to see one of these show up with like a gold or one of the high-end attributes. Otherwise, I guess there's not a whole lot to buy for her in the meantime. Hayabusa, on the other hand, we're still looking for reach. Now, interestingly, this is a level 3. It's got some of the high-end elements. It's got the tri-element on it. So it's got everything but wind and slay. Nothing there. That's a level 2. Yeah, so we're going to have to wait till we find some reach for him. I'm not too intrigued by either of these swords. I'm using the baseball bat just because it's comical. I mean, so I guess based on what somebody in our audience said, that if these all max out at 54, I don't know what the one or two point difference will matter on the attack. I don't know if these have any special abilities or not. So it would be pretty close, and I'm going to use something more comical in the meantime. We still got a lot of work to do in order to figure out how to get the... I mean, we kind of know how. It's just I got to get through some of these chaos levels and other difficulties to get the level 5 and the mystic weapons, which has not yet been high on the priority list. So I don't think there's anything we want to do for him. So Taishi, on the other hand, we just use this corn on the cob, and apparently there's a lot of stuff we could probably add to this one. So there's a brawn, ice. So there's wind and agility and might. Now, he does not have might. No, he does have might. So that would be overkill on his might category. But he's missing agility, which we want for speed. So we get 3 out of the might, 2 for the agility, and 4 for the wind. Replace wisdom and the courage. Yeah, we'll just give him 1. At least we'll make a little progress here. Alright, so which one are we using? Oh, there's a reach that I can't use. For Hayabusa. Alright, so... come back to the wind. So agility... we'll put up here. And then might will be taken care of. And then... the wind can replace wisdom. And Bolt and Slay, highly similar, could replace those, but Stunning versus